So Alex Pierre fought over the weekend, by the way, and he had a very interesting call out. Now, you guys will know Pierre. He's a former kickboxer, competed with and defeated Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. He's come over to MMA. He's unblemished. He's approaching that 5-0, but he also has the light heavyweight champion of the world, Glover Teixeira, in his corner. And Glover, who's been nothing if not open with the audience from Jump Street, is saying and vouching for the guy, saying, man, this guy's the real deal. You know about his kickboxing and stand-up abilities. I know his ground because I see him in practice every day. This guy can fight. Okay. But this is the story. This is the story nonetheless. And Pierre absolutely has the attention of Adesanya, which is paramount at 185 pounds. You can't say Pierre's name in front of Adesanya and not make Adesanya respond in some kind of a fashion. So here's what Pierre does. He wins the fight and he calls out Jared Cannonier. He called out Jared Cannonier. Why? What is that about? So I start breaking it down and I start realizing whether this comes to fruition or not, the strategy most likely went something like this. Jared Cannonier is now the number one contender. Jared Cannonier is supposed to fight Israel Adesanya. Everybody has agreed to this, but nobody has made that official. No about agreements are signed. No venue is booked. No date has been set. Pierre is very right to believe that there is a resistance somewhere from making the fight with Jared and Adesanya. I've seen that as well. I understand that at certain points in the sport, we must turn to the rankings. We must show an integrity to the rankings. The rest of the time, we have a little bit of wiggle room. But if Pierre can get a response from Cannonier and get Cannonier to take a risk and take this fight first, it's very interesting. I do not believe that Pierre is good enough to beat Jared Cannonier, but that's between them. That's never, who cares what I think? If he's willing to walk out there and try, and he knows that he just found the number one contender, if he can somehow sucker the number one contender into a fight, thus putting up the number one contendership, it's very interesting. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like this. I don't know that anybody ever calls out Jared Cannonier. Now, Jared Cannonier is fantastic. I would never take away from Jared. I hope my words don't sound rude towards him. He's great. He's the right choice. He's done everything right. So what? It's winner take all. This is a dirty, filthy game. You will take whatever somebody has anytime you can take it, but those are the rules. They're going to try to take it from you too. So Pierre, to notice that he's in a division whose number one contender but champion is in a fight that hasn't been signed yet. In fact, the number one contender is sitting there available. Why not go in and take that? It's interesting. And I can't tell you a time throughout history where I've seen anything like this happen. I would always use history as the greatest trajectory for the future. I would tell you what happened to the last time somebody did this. I would tell you how that worked out for them. Or the last 2 or 3 times. I look at all of these data pools. I give you an example for everybody that had ever done it. I don't know that I've seen it before. Nobody calls for a shot that they can't get, because there's nothing worse in this business than looking weak. If you call for a shot, you had better get it. Pierre has a win over Adesanya. Pierre sneezes, and it even sounds like Izzy came out of his mouth. Izzy will respond. Izzy is planning to do this fight. He's waiting for this fight. He's just waiting for Pierre to get the nod, to get the opportunity. And now you might even have Adesanya saying, hold on just a second on that Jared business. You guys get in there. I could see where this plays out in a very different way than some of you might have thought. I thought for all of the call-outs that happened over the weekend, this was the most interesting because it was unique. And people don't call Jared out not just because Jared's a really tough match. They don't call him out because Jared doesn't have anything that they want. Jared's not going to get you a whole bunch of attention. He's not going to get you a bigger paycheck. He's not going to get you more eyeballs. He's going to give you a really hard evening. There's nothing really fun about that proposition. If I got to go in there and take and give an ass whipping in the tough guy business, I'm at least going to get some attention for it. So people don't call out Jared. But all of a sudden, Jared does have something that somebody wants, which is apparently a number one contender's status. So it's a very interesting play, and I don't hate it. I do hate Adesanya versus Cannonier. I do. I agree it's the fight that should be made. I get it. But to understand that you have somebody who can monetize more than just the punches and kicks like Adesanya, and then not allowing him to use this very rare skill that he has. I mean, to watch the great skill that is Adesanya be wasted because Robert Whittaker didn't want to meet him halfway in the media. And then to know for sure we're going to have that again because Jared's not going to meet you halfway in the media. It would seem as though this could solve a lot of problems. It could get you one step closer to these former kickboxing foes. Get in there and settle it under our rules. It could make it crystal clear, look, Cannonier, you're the guy. And this is going to add to your story, and this is why you're the guy, and maybe now something we can do something with it. But I think that's going to have Adesanya's interest. I think it might have been a brilliant move. Only time will tell. This is only a hindsight issue. I'm just sharing with you guys. Don't miss this. Don't miss what's going on here. Don't miss that the #1 contender just got called out, which means he's going to have to put up the #1 contendership.